Hey, good morning, guys. I'm just trying to make it through traffic so I can get to my appointment. I think I'm gonna be late. But anyways, I want to talk to you guys about being a slave to the insanity. And it started off with this video from Steve Furtick, and he was talking about living a lie. And it just really kind of, piqued my interest, so I was listening, and so the man was talking about being caught between two truths. And I saw it as very, woo, it was such a revelation, because I see that a lot with my clients, and it's the core of why they self-sabotage, because they're still dealing with an outdated truth of who they were and haven't been able to fully embrace the truth of who they're becoming and who they're meant to be. So I use myself as an example. You guys know me. I try to be transparent. Back in the day when I was a much younger man, I was completely self-absorbed, probably your textbook narcissist, and didn't even know it. Just into my own pain, and didn't believe anybody would love me. So I had to love, so I thought I was loving myself by always going after those superficial things that I thought would feed that void inside of me that was like a hungry black hole. So I couldn't get enough drugs, couldn't get enough alcohol, couldn't get enough sex, couldn't get enough money, couldn't get enough things, couldn't get enough people to like me. I was just like a greedy, immature gremlin. Excuse me. That had no real concept of real love, real friendship, and people will be kind of blown away that I see myself, or I saw myself like that back in the day, because I was very good, excuse me, at performing. I had all the appearances of being a good friend, but a lot of what I did back then was convenient. I knew very little of anything about sacrifice, taking one for the team. The only team I had was me. And I wasn't happy with myself. So I really didn't know how to be honest with what I was going through, or be honest in my relationships. So that's why all my relationships back then were kind of crunchy. They were dysfunctional. They were just two-dimensional. And I'm not saying anything in regards to the women that I dated, because it was all manifesting from what was inside of me. You can't create love when you don't really have a healthy love on the inside. What you're creating is an illusion, a facsimile, a facade of the real thing, which will never hold up under real pressure, under real reality circumstances. So that's why none of my relationships would last, because they were produced from bad material. So that's who I was. So who I became, who I am now and still becoming, is I'm a good man, man of faith, man of compassion, of psychology, of understanding, of determination, ambition, and I try to be a man of sacrifice, and I think I do that. I need to do better and better about that. But very little time for distraction and fear, which controlled me so much when I was younger. And it's not that I don't make mistakes, it's that I don't let the mistakes own me. And I think that's the problem of when a truth becomes a lie. The truth is that we make mistakes. The lie is that we start to believe that we are a mistake. And when I look at when I look at the children of Israel in the Bible, how they had to spend 40 years in the wilderness, learning a new truth because they kept holding on to the slave mentality of who they were. And so God had to break them and remake them and remold them to be the promised people. And when I think about that with us, my church, we roll with the idea, with the concept of black people in the Bible, and how, people of God are chosen by God, which is true. We are chosen by God. He chose us. But do we believe that to the point where we become an example of that? If I'm an example of my faith, which, and whether you believe in God or not, I think everybody understands the concept of God being a God of love. Am I an example of compassion? Am I an example of joy? Or am I faking it? When people look at me, do they see fear, anxiety, anger, resentment, or do they see something better? Because the truth, how they say the truth will make you free? Well, the way you can tell what truth people believe is by watching them. You watch them and you see what comes out of their pores. When I'm dealing with an alcoholic, because I rarely will do drug or alcohol screens, in my practice, because my whole deal is I want to get to know you. And the better I get to know you in developing a real relationship with you, I can tell when things aren't adding up. So I don't really have to worry about waiting for the alcohol to start coming out of your pores. I can see it in your behavior, in your actions, in your conversation, in your relationships, in your ability to be vulnerable, in your courage to try something new, in your determination to go after your dreams, new dreams. All that becomes the essence of your truth. It's sort of like you are what you eat. So like in America, we've earned the title of the fattest nation in the country, in the world. Because come on, we invented McDonald's. And it's just funny, but because you guys know I go to NutriHealth, once a month now, and they'll weigh me on their fancy Star Trek scale, and it tells all the water, how much muscle I have, the visceral fat, the subcutaneous fat, the BMI. It tells everything. It can't lie. So it doesn't matter if I try to detox with some detox tea the night before, because I'm just getting rid of water mostly. So even if it says that I've gone down a pound, my subcutaneous fat has not changed. So the truth underneath the loss of water is that you're still fat. And you can't fool that thing. You can't fool what's going on the inside of you. And so a lot of us will avoid that truth, will run from that truth, or we will disguise the truth from ourselves. And the problem with a lot of clients that I work with is that your truth is not a negative. I have a lot of people that are running from the truth that is it's amazing. But they're scared of that truth of being phenomenal, because they're so used to being less than, that to embrace the idea that you're a leader, that you're a phenomenal mother, that you're a great man, that you're an incredible friend, is painful sometimes, because it has to break through the years and decades of us lying to ourselves. I think about the children of Israel, They had been slaves for over 300 years. Embraced in generations of bondage. Sounds like somebody we know, huh? Because I talk about, I tell my friends about, the plight of African Americans and how the psychological damage of the generations of just racial mess that we've endured and embraced dysfunctionally that have hindered us from even coming together as a community to evolve. But don't get me started. But clearly, not just in the African American population, but in just men and women, period, we struggle as a nation, as a world, with the concept that we are better than we think we are. The reason it's so easy for us to be a slave to insanity, to self-sabotage, is because we're comfortable with that. We're comfortable with not believing in ourselves. We're comfortable with not believing in anything. I've got people that in their heart believe they are not meant to be loved, but they still want to try to get in relationships. So you can imagine the chaos that creates. So many of us are meant to be more than broken. Yes, we've been hurt. Yes, we've taken fractures and backstabbings and betrayals. But that is not the end of the story. But I got to get people to want to write a new story. Be the hero of your story. And I'm not even trying to do the little plug for my book, Apocalypse Reckoning. But I get excited when I sit down and I get to write, because I'm working on book 3. And I get excited because I'm creating this new world based on real circumstances and situations, because it's a story about addicts and recovering addicts and the characters becoming more transitioning. And so I'm having so much fun going into all the psychological damage and traps and tricks and discrepancies that each character goes through to embrace who they're going to be. And that's how I see our life, man. I mean, the reason we're still a slave to the insanity is because we've stopped transitioning. We've gotten stuck in a loop of being a loser and believing in that and embracing that and hating it at the same time. So that's just my topic for today, man. I mean, if you want to break that cycle, you got to get help. I mean, I'm telling you right now, you got to get help, because you've become your own worst enemy. You've got to embrace a positive outside resource and allow them to insert new information in your mainframe so you can start processing new material. You can come see me. I'll work on you. So that's my topic for today. Sorry, I went a little bit long. Love you guys. I'm off to work, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace.